Hello everyone. Welcome to the next webinar in 12D's training webinar series. My name is Lisa Stewart and I'm the Marketing and Communications Coordinator at 12D Solutions. 12D's training webinars showcase common industry challenges, taking a close look at industry best practices and how these can be implemented using 12D products. We run these webinars regularly and record them for posting through our website and on YouTube. The first 41 webinars from this training series, as well as the webinars from our Industry Solutions series, are available on our YouTube channels if you missed those. During this live presentation, you'll be able to type your questions along the way, as shown on the screen, and we'll answer as many as possible throughout the webinar. At the end, I'll also read out some of your questions to the presenters for their insights if there's time. Today's webinar, Implementing 12D Synergy for Your Business, will be presented by Lincoln Smith and Tim Brooks. Tim has been with 12D Solutions for over 4 years as the 12D Model and 12D Synergy Training Manager. He coordinates and writes 12D Model training manuals and writes the 12D Synergy training manuals. A civil designer with 20 years of experience in the civil industry, both around Australia and in the UAE, Tim has worked on a variety of civil projects including motorways, highways, local roads, industrial and subdivision estates, car parks and rail projects. Lincoln has been working in sales and marketing with technology solutions for the AEC industry for over 18 years. He is focused on the introduction of software and hardware solutions into AEC businesses to increase efficiency and reduce risk. He's also involved with the Brisbane startup community, helping entrepreneurs develop sales and marketing strategies to bring their ideas to market. Change in any business can be confronting for anyone. Some of us embrace change and look forward to it, while others have a more measured approach and prefer consistency. If it isn't broken, why fix it? In this webinar, we'll discuss the strategies and processes we undertake during the 12D Synergy implementation. To implement 12D Synergy into your business, we start by reviewing your current data and document management processes. This information fuels the creation of the 12D Synergy job tree structure and job templates with a ready folder structure. We'll explore how metadata and attributes will provide those extra details required to streamline your processes. And we'll demonstrate how 12D Synergy can enforce drawing and file naming rules. Finally, we'll look at how to apply user permissions to your configuration. Over to you, Lincoln.
Hi, thanks Lisa, and welcome everyone, and thanks for taking the time to join us. So, as Lisa was saying, today we're going to talk about a 12D Synergy implementation, and I guess the agenda for today we're going to go over is just talk about implementations in general and probably talk a little bit about change management. Then we'll have a look at what we would call our boilerplate implementation process. So we'll talk a little bit about what Tim and I do in that implementation of 12D Synergy. And then really the next step would be we're going to really go over to Tim, and he's going to get into that nitty-gritty about what actually happens during that configuration process. It's probably the most detailed and involved, and essentially Tim will go through that, step by step, covering off kind of what we do. So in my part of the presentation, I'll be talking about the definition of what an implementation is. So we'll talk about what's an implementation plan. Then we'll have a look at why would you use an implementation. How do you make that implementation plan a success? Looking at resistance, so people and behaviors, how do you manage resistance? And communication. So, and then we'll have a brief look at what we do in our kind of boilerplate standard implementation process. So before we throw you the keys and let you drive off in your new document management system, we at 12D Solutions here really want to make sure that it fits your business requirements, it's being leveraged to its fullest capacity, and it's providing a return on investment. A software implementation is really like a systematically structured approach to effectively integrate a software into the workflow of an organization or an individual. So really, I guess an implementation really is a plan. So you're setting up a structured process, and really what you want to try and see is any problems that might come up in the future and how you can head those problems off at the path. So for an example, what our customers might actually do is they might run a pilot project. They may pick one job to do, or they might go, we're gonna use a phased rollout implementation, and they're all used for various reasons. But I guess when you're picking that implementation process, what are the things you need to consider? So what we really start off and talk about in that kind of planning process is, do we run a job for our first go, or do we pick a department? So we say, let's just start with our civil designers, or let's just start with our administration team. Or some of our customers have said, look, let's start with our Geelong office, and we'll roll it out there, we'll get it going, and then we'll roll it out to the rest of the business. So there's many ways to go. The size of the team, ultimately you don't necessarily want a big group of people for your first team, and probably what you're really looking for is people in your organization who are a bit tech savvy and have good communication skills. People who are going to let you know when things aren't working properly, and making sure you can get us involved to fix any of those kind of problems. The other thing is really just looking at the job in a bit more detail that you might take on for your first job is, let's kind of avoid projects with tight deadlines or grumpy project managers. And you want to keep it relatively simple and routine. And you don't want it to go on for too long either. So something that kind of fits that box, and avoid anything that you would say is large or complex or multidisciplinary as well. It's probably not a bad place to start. Let's try not to swing for the six on our first ball. Let's try and just start slow and build up into something from there. So why would you use an implementation? Well, ultimately you need a structured approach, and I think a lot of us really need to think about it as it's not like buying another copy of 12D Model or buying another copy of AutoCAD. Something like 12D Synergy is going to affect a wider group of people from various parts of the business. So we really want to take into account that people are going to have different requirements and needs, and really plan for that. The other part to consider is that, look, engineering firms have many data sources which need to be integrated into the system, and that you really need to take that into account through your configuration process. The other one is, engineering has complex workflows. There's data flows through the business. A whole bunch of people access that data. They export it, they change it, they view it in various different applications. And 12D Synergy needs to account for those workflows and make sure we can adhere to them as close as possible, really. And I think, again, by kind of any kind of plan, a plan is about reducing risk, making things predictable, being able to predict problems ahead of time. So again, that's why you would do an implementation plan. So once you've decided on your plan, how do I make that a success? So change is inevitable. It's not always popular. And when initiating any change within the business, it would be fair enough to expect that people are going to resist to some degree. And the introduction of new systems and technology into your business is really no different. How you manage the change is crucial to the success of a new system. So change management, I guess, is a bit like an implementation plan. It's a structured approach to implementing new processes into the business. So really what you're questioning is, there's always going to be internal politics you'll need to overcome, and individuals or groups of people are going to resist for various reasons. So really it's a plan to, overcome those too. What we're really hoping to create is, to guide staff to successfully adopt new processes or technology. So what about the people in the process? So it's natural behaviour for people to resist, and it can be as, straightforward as, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Are we just changing the way we do things for change, for the sake of it? That's a completely normal emotion for people to have, And a lot of that can just be a bit of, I guess, just a bit of a misunderstanding about why we're doing what we're doing. You'll also find that various people are going to have various views about what are we getting out of doing this. So, you know, if there's not much value in it for me, then why am I going to want to be a part of this? So that there's a bit of personal value in there, and we need to make sure that people understand about what they're going to get out of it. When you're going through that planning process initially, you really need to create this, what you would call a guiding coalition. So you might have someone involved from the design side of the business, like someone from administration or project management or the CAD manager, for example, getting those people together and going through the plan and how you plan to do it and getting their feedback on, you know, how this is going to affect this group or that group. And they also want to understand, you know, you might go through a change process and one department in the business might get more benefit from it than the others. And again, it's just an acknowledgement of understanding why we're doing what we're doing. It's also the perception, I think, of some people. Every person at different layers of the business is going to, I guess, visualize or realize certain benefits, or so someone like the owners and the managers are going to have a different view of what they're going to get out of a data management system than what the doers might. And really, it's about listening to those frontline people who are doing the work. And look, people at the front line of the business, they're out there, they're doing the work. They don't want to be thinking that we're going to implement this new system and all I'm going to have to do is more work. They're really going to resist if they think that their job is going to get harder, and that's just logical. When we talk about resistance, there's probably two basic groups to think about there. You've got active resistance and passive resistance. So an active resistor is going to be obvious, they're going to be vocal, they're going to talk about what they don't like, and they're going to challenge other co-workers internally about, you know, why are we doing this? Don't you see that it's going to take longer or more complex or whatever it might be? And that's great because they're making themselves obvious. You can talk to those people, go through their concerns, and hopefully, you know, solve the majority of what their concerns might be. The passive resistor, it's a little bit harder because initially they might non-verbally agree or kind of superficially agree that this is a good idea, but when the rubber hits the road and the change starts happening in the business, they switch from passive to active. And I guess that's something just to keep aware that there may be a lot of phases of this, convincing and reinforcing that you're going in the right direction and the reasons why you're doing it. So I guess really the title of this slide really does sum up the whole thing. It really is about communication. So from a people perspective, the main thing is communication, and that's two-way communication, not just telling people, but listening to feedback from them, from the people on the front lines, and making changes where possible to make the process smooth. Again, I guess what you really want to do is explain the need for the change to everyone, and they understand why we're doing what we're doing. That building of that guiding coalition that I mentioned before, making sure that everyone in the business is represented, and we've communicated the vision and the benefits of what everyone's going to get out of it. There's going to be change, there's going to be changes to business process, that's completely normal, but the net result is things are better, things are easier, for example. Look, training and onboarding is important. If someone feels like they're just not confident, they haven't had enough training or getting used to the system, something you need to keep an eye on. And think about it from various different approaches, whether it's reading manuals or watching videos on YouTube or a face-to-face training. You know, have them all available there. And really, you know, we need to relate the training back to what our workflows are in our business. A pilot project's a great way to get that real-world feedback, and that's what people really want to use it in anger and get that great feedback. And again, listen to our users, understand what worked, what didn't, and what solutions, what changes can be made to make it work for everyone. So to summarize, have a plan, be reasonable, think ahead, communicate to everyone, and review and adjust the plan. Don't think that one plan has to be the perfect solution from end to end. Adjust it as you go. So the goal is to have a successful change over to a new business process where everybody wins. Now briefly, just to give you a bit of an idea, I've just done up one slide here on what our implementation process is. And there's a couple of sessions that we do. So training, we do training on various features of 12D Synergy. And then we have this second session, which is the configuration session, which Tim's going to get into next. So if I just start on the left-hand side here, we go and install the software on your system. We spend some time creating a plan of action about how we're going to go around it. Are we going to do a rollout? Are we going to do a trial? Are we going to do a pilot? How are we going to go about it? We start the training. Then once we finish training, we head into the configuration, and that's really configuring in a lot of cases for the pilot. We start the pilot, and then we continually follow up with you ongoing over the next few months, maybe every fortnight, maybe every week, depending on how you're going, and make sure that we're tweaking your implementation of Synergy to what goes on in your business. So that's really a bit of a high-level overview. What I'll do is I'll hand over to Tim now, and he's going to get into that configuration process in a lot more detail. Tim, you there?
Thanks, Lincoln. So why do configuration with 12D? Post-training, we've found it really beneficial to conduct configuration with our clients. It gets it done while the training is fresh in the user's minds, and the system administrators get to do the configuration with the guidance of the trainer. Users are able to use the trainer's experience to help get the setup they desire by using the 12D Synergy features to the best ability. Also helps our clients start using 12D Synergy earlier. The time is set up to get it configured, so there's no worry about fitting it in amongst your workload later on. Then before you know it, a month has passed, 2 months, etc., and you're still not using 12D Synergy. It's just sitting there on your server, and of course your colleagues will also be forgetting the training as well. So how do we configure 12D Synergy in your business? Well, first things first, we show you how to give user access to the system. We'll also show you how to add other contacts. From there, we set up the job layout of your system, and this also includes standard folder structures. Permissions, this one's an important one. Without them, no one can see any data or edit anything without them. So how and where do you want to apply them? When having a look at the system settings, we also show you how to set up things like active checkout screens, set up automatic history comments with change descriptions, also task types if you require them, and other general settings. Finally, there's the attributes, a very powerful addition to 12D Synergy. They can be used to add extra information, search, or insert into files and data. So let's have a look in more detail now. So adding of users. Of course, for your users to access the system, we show the administrators how to assign them a license, set what type of user they will be, and if they need to have a different module. We'll also show you how to edit these details or remove a user from the system. We'll also show you how to add external contacts and, if required, how to link them to a company. When it comes to job tree structure, we'll have a look at your requirements and we'll implement a layout to suit. Is there a need for more than one top-level job? What header jobs does your company require? Then we look to start setting up your job template or templates. This includes adding your required folder structures to suit. This is often a good opportunity for your company to review this. For more information on setting up a job structure and folder structures, please review our previous webinar, Folder Structure Best Practices. This can be found on our YouTube channel, or the link can also be located on the 12d.com website. Also, as part of setting up a template, we can set up a base list of team roles that can be used on that job or project. Team roles are great for assigning tasks to, or you can even use them for permissions in deciding who gets access to this particular job. Forums are a great way to communicate with the project team. If you wish to use this feature, we will also add the forum names to suit your uses. To help separate the transmittals, it's always great to create the appropriate issue file types in the templates as well. For example, if you wish to view all items that have been issued to a client, simply go to the client area under issue files. As mentioned earlier, permissions is key to your people being able to first see the data and then secondly, being able to edit it. How many permissions are required is always dependent on each company, but we will evaluate how best to apply them, whether it be via the user, adding users to a particular group, or assigning a user to a role. In any of these cases, the easiest way to apply permissions is by setting up the permission sets. This makes it easier than choosing the types of permissions for every job and every folder. We also go through the definitions of what undefined, allow, and denied will mean. Permissions can be applied in every job and folder if they are required to be different. Again, having the benefit of just ticking a permission set is the easiest, but they can also be overwritten by the explicit permissions. There are many different ways to apply permissions. Possibly, and this can also speed up applying permissions, you can use the inherit options at either the job level or the folder level. 12D Synergy is very easy to set up. However, it's always wise to know what the settings can do for you. On top of that, there are features in the administrator tool that can make using and the use for your colleagues easier. Other tools that we help get set up are the active checkout closing rules, aka the nag screen. This warns you or can force you to check in any items that you have left checked out before exiting 12D Synergy. This is important so that your data is backed up on the server, and or if you're away the next day, your checkout doesn't prevent others from accessing that file or data. The change descriptions is also handy so that your users don't have to type repetitive messages in the history comments. Instead, they can just select. As noted earlier, attributes are a very handy way of adding more properties. This will help provide more details to our jobs, folders, and files. Attributes can be inserted into files, therefore you never have to worry about typing the wrong details. They can also be used to create naming rules for your files or to help describe your files. For example, is the file under review or has it been approved? Or maybe it's just an issue number for things like CAD drawings. We'll also show you how you can use attributes to automatically fill out documents. For example, using a Word template with matching attribute fields so that they then populate with the job's values once brought into that job. There are also system attributes to set up, like 12D model project attributes, company and contact attributes. These again help provide extra details. The email tracing in Synergy is a great feature, and to use this, a stamp referencing an attribute or attributes requires setting. Likewise with an issuing file attribute. Again, this provides more detail, like why something is being issued. The final steps with the job templates and attributes is to link them together. Upon job creation, we will show you how to choose the desired template using an attribute, and also how using those attributes can automatically name your job. With 12D Model and CAD, if required, we can also assist in setting up your 12D Model libraries for use in 12D Synergy and how to use sharing in Synergy too. We can also show how to XREF CAD drawings using Synergy paths and how the 12D Synergy plugin toolbar works. So hopefully that's giving you some more detail on our configuration process. I'll hand it back to you now, Lisa.
Thanks, Tim. We've had a couple of questions through, so I'll just throw these out to you and Lincoln and see who'd like to answer them. John in Sydney has asked, do I have to conduct an implementation and can I do it myself?
I can take that one, Tim. Absolutely. So a whole bunch of our customers have read the manuals, done the research and conducted it themselves, and we've supported them through that process as well. Others have been assisted in various times, but absolutely, if that's the way you want to do it, that's fine.
Great. And Jan in Brisbane said, how long might an implementation take?
Well, I guess it's one of those how long is a piece of string questions, but look, we've got organizations who have implemented it over 3 to 6 months. They've got multiple offices and 120, 130 staff. So it certainly does take time, but look, normally most people have got it up and running and working relatively the way they want in 2 to 3 months, I guess.
Great, okay. Well, thank you, Lincoln and Tim. And thanks to you, the audience, for your questions. If anyone has any more questions, we'll get back to you by email after the presentation. And don't forget, our 12D Technical Forum is on again in Brisbane this July. It's going to be a pretty huge event, so jump online and register for that if you haven't already. The recording of today's webinar will be available in coming days through our website and our YouTube channel. Our next 2 training webinars are directional curb ramps on the 22nd of May and a precise culvert length and location with drainage strings on the 23rd of May. You can sign up for those and more through our website. We'll keep you posted on all of that through email and social media if you're subscribed, and if you need to contact us in the meantime, our details are on the screen now. That concludes our presentation for today. Thank you all for attending, and we hope to see you at future webinars.